Now I'm hoping, I haven't heard back from Robert, email, Facebook or Twitter. So I'm kind of like, I'm hoping that he's got the time right, or wrong. Maybe that's probably the case, but yeah. If not, well, here we are. So one thing I want to talk about, since we're on books, is this, right? I've been able to collect this over just a couple of weeks, and I'm so, because I saw this and I was like, yeah, I got to have this in my collection. I've been wanting to have this in my collection, but I don't want a brand new one, right? I didn't want to pay for new books, right? I kind of love like used stuff. I like pre-loved stuff. When it comes to comics, I want brand new stuff, but also I also want the past old stuff as well, because I think you got to have, if you're a collector like me and a fan of comics, you can buy old music, old comic books, and pop culture stuff, right? Toys even, right? That have, that people had played with, part of their collection, but now, they've gone on to something else. So I end up getting all these Kenner toys now, very cheap, and part of my collection behind me, right? So I can add to my Batman collection, or pick up figurines like this, to add to my DC collection and stuff. So I saw this and I was like, yeah, didn't have to even question myself. Do I have enough money? It was like, no, just grab it. So, this is so cool. This is like the Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and Its Boy. This is one of my favorite books when I was growing up. I actually almost got into a fight over this, the movie when it came out, The Lion, the Witch. Was it the other? Which one was it? With Aslan? Yeah. If you haven't read it, you've had enough time to think. So I was in Fiji at this time, and I was married at that time, right? So we're on holiday, and I took our neighbor's child who was with us. She's about 7 or 8, and really lovely girl, right? A solo dad was raising her, and we all, my wife was like, can't we adopt her? Bring her to New Zealand, give her a better life, as if like, there isn't a better life in Fiji. But just like somehow, it's just, we just fell in love with this child. And so we were taking her out, on taking her out to like into town. It's really cheap to travel in Fiji, like bus and stuff, like taxi. We'd go out and go to movies and go and see, go to like shops and stuff and buy her stuff. So what do you like, and so on. And here we are, like, I think I was about 35, 37 at the time, of 15 now. So it must be about 15 years ago or something like that. And sadly, we don't have any other child of our own, which I kind of miss because I wish we had, right? But anyway, so this lovely child, right? So went to watch, I can't remember if it's Lion the Witch. I don't know which one it was, right? So I'm sorry for that, but this is the one where Aslan is sacrificed, right? Sacrifices himself. And so all through the movie, there was all these young Indian teenagers were in front of us with their girlfriends, right? Or maybe their sister, whatever. There was 3 of them, and then there was 3 girls in front of us. And all through the movie, they were like laughing and pushing back on their seats, and it was just riling me up. And I'm like I said, I'm a huge fan of Narnia, and it's something I read as a child. And I actually, if I remember right, I read all of the books as a child, right? And this is after years of being taught how to read, because I couldn't read English that well. Not to mention the fact I couldn't speak it that well. And so that was kind of helping me, I was being tutored by a neighbor, and then tutored all the way into high school. I was still getting tutored how to read. And that's why, like, now I just love reading, and now I can read anything, right? And so, and I have no problem with reading. So we're there in the movie theater, right? There's a big, huge movie theater, Flash has, right, in Suva, and which is the capital of Fiji. The Viti level, which is a big, huge round island, right? Kind of like ovally shaped. And the guys were just all through the movie, they were bumping the seats and just talking through it, right? Talking through it, and like, I'm not sure if they had their cell phones at the time, but I think we did. But just talking through the movie, and just bouncing back and forth, and there's my wife's there, the girl's there, and all of a sudden, ice gets thrown. Right, they're throwing ice at each other, and this ice gets thrown onto the girl, on the little kid. I look over, and these guys have basically been laughing through the death scene, right? Which for me, I'm very emotionally tied to the movie. I'm tied to the storybook. This was the last straw, right? Right in the middle of, if I remember right, in the middle of that, ice comes and hits the girl in the head or in the chest, and she freaks out, and I'm like, that's it. I grabbed my, Coke and ice and just dumped it over the guy in front of me where it came from, right? And like there wasn't much in it. It was like only about that much. And I just lost it. And my missus looks at me and got like hacked off at me, like totally lost it. Like, and I'm like, what? Because I'm angry because, not only have they been bumping and ruining the movie for all of us, especially for me, because like, I'm looking forward to this. And, and I've never seen the movie again. Right. And so and then for the kid to get hit by an ice. Right. And so, and they're just like freaking out. I'm like, waiting for them, to start something because I'm just wrapped up. I'm, inflamed. So afterwards, right, I'm at the door and I'm just like, before you go out, right, at the exit, I'm waiting for these kids. This is how riled up I am because I'm sure that I'm waiting to see if they're going to come and start something. So I'm just waiting. All right. And my ex goes, come on, let's go. I was like, no, I'm going to wait this out, see if anything happens, and, I'll face up to it. And turns out they went out through the other side exit. But, but she just let me have it. I realized later, but I was in the wrong. Felt like a Karen if you really think about it now. It's like, kind of like a cinema rage, right? Road rage, cinema rage. And I found that like I was so riled up because I was so tired to it. And I think a lot of time people don't understand when you start messing with our stories, that's what you're doing to us. Like you're throwing, you just keep pushing against us. You keep pushing and you just keep pushing. And it comes to a point when we go, you know what? Yeah. And walk away. You want to face off? Let's face off. But here, right? I'm going to wake you up. You can't keep doing it. And so I think a lot of these so-called strikers or rioters and stuff, they deserve it, as far as I'm concerned. I think they deserve to be out of work. I believe probably about 80% of them deserve not to be there on, at the table writing, at the desk, at the computer, or whatever, They want 20 people to work on a show. What? Are you don't have incompetent people writing? I've got, there's people out here, there's only 2 people that have made like entire series. So you're telling me that 5 people isn't enough? So when you start saying, oh, we have to have 20 people at the writer's room, it's like paid what, $14,000 US, which is around about 25 New Zealand $1,000 a week, $100 a week, right? $2,500 a week, right? In New Zealand, people live on $500 a week, right? Kind of minimum wage kind of thing, right? And you're here wanting 4 times that just to write something that you might not even be writing at the time because the other guys do that job that time, and maybe next week you'll be writing one. This week you don't, you just sit there going, yes, we'll put that in there. Okay, that's all. That's my addition to the writer's room. Yes, I think that character should, yeah. And that's it. And that's how it works, right? It's like, oh, and then they said that, right? Okay, what do you think? And then what do you think? There's 20 people writing a script, and you can see why it's such a trashy things we've had for the last 10 years, right? I reckon the last 10 years have been the worst thing in pop culture that you can think of. The last 10 years are the worst, because people have just gotten jobs out of college, right? Who have never written a comic book, never worked on a show. Yes, they have a degree. Yes, they have a bachelor's, maybe even have a doctorate of writing, right? Unless you're out there practicing, right? Unless you're out there actually doing the work, you don't deserve to be writing anything unless you actually have a, you know, actually if you have a like, what is it called, like something like, you know, a lot of work that you've done, whatever, you know, like in the past, if you've written a couple of sci-fi novels, then maybe you deserve to be a writer in the writer's room, because you at least know your art, right? You at least, you know, your creative process, you know what's going to work, you know the tropes, and you are actually someone who's actually uh, a fan of the work. One thing I think is a terrible, terrible thing right now is that people who are not fans of the work, working um, on franchises, on stories, on film, in comic books, you know, writing for those things, and actually despise the work, the original work. All they're there for is to have their name in the byline saying, oh, yes, and so they can go, oh, yes, I worked on The Witcher. What were you doing? Oh, I was in the writer's room. So what was the addition to? Oh, don't know, right? So, you know, I just only did edit a bit of this and that. I was on that episode. Yeah. And that's it. And so I think it's quite sad that we kind of have that sort of people out here writing. And, you know, and like I said, I'm glad they're on strike. I'm glad that the studio's treating them that way. And I'm not glad about the other people. The writers, yeah, you know, and actors, yeah, you know, they can, whatever, they can jump in the fire, right? Metallica song, right? So jump in the fire, right? But what I'm worried about is the crew who get paid kind of like the low numbers, right? They don't get the $14,000 a week, right? Those guys are there about, maybe if they're lucky, they get about $2,000 a week, right? Or, you know, or not, sorry, for it's 1,400. Maybe they get about $500-$600 a week, right? US, right? If they're lucky, 800 maybe, you know? Those guys, the caterers, right? The guys who do the props, you know, the guys who are standing there with the, you know, with the boom mic, right? Trying to record all the sound, right? And not these whingy little guys who just sit there and write something, a line or two for an episode, and they think they deserve $1,400 US, right? And that they work harder than the guy who's freaking working in the coal mines, right? Or out there on the deep blue sea, right? Catching freaking crayfish, not crayfish, sorry, king crabs and stuff. You've seen how crazy that is. You know, people can lose their life. And yet these writers want to compare themselves to those people, those hard workers. Sorry, you're talking out of your, you know, the other hole, right? And not your mouth. And I think that's why I think a lot of us out here, especially in fandom, have no love for them. We're out as, you know, we've had enough of them. We found out what they were like during the lockdowns for 2 years. We learned what these people are like, and now they want to come back and say, hey, love us, you know, support us. It's like, nah, once bitten, twice shy, right?